Hello and welcome to the House of Commentary. Today we're going to be reviewing the Australian Grand Prix for 2023, and with me is Stats.
Hello everyone.
And today what we're going to do is go through the standard approach, which is first of all talking about the qualifying rounds, and then Stats will give us an overview of that. We'll then talk about the Grand Prix itself, and this was a Grand Prix that had so many issues, had so many incidents, that I'm sure we're going to have a lot to discuss.
I agree.
So, how did the qualifying go?
So, qualifying was actually a bit of a shocker because Sergio Perez actually didn't even get a set time in because he had issues with his car.
He didn't even get a time in.
Yeah.
That is awful.
And the worst thing is, in the final practice session, he had to retire the car because of a power unit failure.
Oh my god. So basically that means that because he couldn't get a time in, he wasn't able to even get onto the grid other than last place, I assume.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
20th.
Yeah, and because he had to retire the car again, so what happened was his car actually got beached in the sand.
Oh right.
Yeah.
So when he did try to actually get a lap time in, he didn't even complete the lap, basically. Yeah. That's really, really bad. I mean, can you imagine it? He just finished second in the previous.
He actually won the previous.
Sorry, he won the previous.
Yeah.
Verstappen came second. He won the previous. He's on a massive high, and his car basically conks out.
Yeah,
it's terrible way of putting it, but that's exactly what happened. So, what other things happened during the qualifying?
So Lando Norris managed to get into Q3 for the first time.
Oh, great! That's really good.
Yeah, because obviously the last two qualifyings, McLaren have had a disaster of being the very back of the grid.
Oh, right. So Lando did well.
Yes.
And who else did well?
I would say Haas and Alpine did quite well.
Really, where did they come?
So Nico Hülkenberg actually qualified 10th.
Oh, right, that's good.
Yeah, and Pierre Gasly qualified 9th.
Wow. Top 10.
Yeah.
That's really, really good.
Actually, and there's also another big shock as well. Alex Albon for Williams qualified 8th.
All right. Wow. Williams in the top 10?
Yeah.
I can't even remember the last time Williams got in the top 10.
Yeah, and the last time they did the top 10 was actually Belgium last year with Russell.
Really?
Not last year, sorry. My bad.
The year before.
Yeah, 2021.
Yeah, 2021. Wow. See, Williams is one of those teams that everyone loves it because it has a great history. But everyone looks at it and thinks, when are they going to sort themselves out and actually get somewhere? So they finally got to the top 10, which is a great thing. I think it's a very, very good thing. So who won the top 3 or top 5?
Verstappen,
yeah,
Russell, Hamilton, Alonso and Sainz.
Wow, George Russell finished ahead of Hamilton.
I know.
He must have been on a massive high. Because one of the other things that I remember about the qualifying is there were quite a few sort of news articles coming out, as there always are. And there was a big thing about Hamilton saying that Red Bull basically was so far ahead it would take a year for Mercedes to catch up.
I actually I remember reading that article and I was like, a whole year? That's like miles away.
It's almost like him saying, I've given up. But for him to then finish second and third, is that second and third, was it?
Yeah.
That shows that. I think it was just saying it to sort of
to wind up
other people, but also to hide the fact that they've made big changes or they've made big improvements since the last race. So the race took place at a really horrible time. If you're in the UK, I think it's 6 in the morning.
6 in the morning, yeah, which is a horrible.
I'll tell you something. It knocks you out just getting up at that time.
But the worst thing is, that was the worst part. The actual build-up started at 5 o'clock in the morning. Which
it always does an hour before. But yeah, it's tough because it's on a Sunday and you're basically out with all your mates on a Saturday, aren't you? So it was a tough one. This was a particularly tough watch, just in terms of the time time differences. But the race was incident-packed. So what I'm going to do is leave it to Stats to take us through what happened.
So the opening lap, the Mercedes were in front 1 and 2.
Really? So Verstappen, even though he was on pole, suddenly found himself in third position.
Yeah, and it was Russell leading the pack with Hamilton behind him.
Really? Just think about that. Remember what I just said before, Hamilton saying that Mercedes have got a year to catch up. and it's like in a matter of seconds they're in front.
1 and 2.
1 and 2. Mercedes must have been loving it.
I agree. But then, so the opening lap, it was actually the first instant we saw of the race, because Stroll and Leclerc collided, and Leclerc's car was actually beached exactly where Perez's car was on the qualifying.
Really? So
Yeah.
so basically, did that happen around the first corner? I think,
Yeah.
The first corner at this particular Grand Prix is tremendous because it always has incidents. They crashed basically. Did they touch each other or crash into each other?
Well, they actually collided.
They collided.
Yeah.
Wow. And then what happens?
The safety car comes out.
Safety car comes out. Just a safety car.
Full safety car.
All right. So when that comes out, everybody has to basically stay in their position while they sort out the track, isn't it?
Yes.
So they're going around at quite a relatively slow speed to give time for the people to come on the track and clear it of all the debris.
Well, it wasn't debris, it was just to clear the car of the way because of where it was parked.
All right.
Yeah.
Whose car was that again?
Leclerc.
So Leclerc's out completely,
Yeah.
basically. Oh my God. That's terrible. That's terrible. And I'm sure he had really high hopes of actually
Putting finish.
to start to get his season underway. Really, if you think about it.
I agree.
Wow, he just touched the accelerator and it's actually not taking part in the race. So the safety car's out. Everybody's bunching up as usual.
Yep. And then lap 3 is when the safety car ends.
Okay.
And it's still Russell, Hamilton, Verstappen leading the top 3.
Where's Alonso?
Alonso's 4. Alonso's 5th, actually.
He's 5th, right? Okay.
Carlos Sainz in front of him.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
So then what happened?
So then on lap 7, Alex Albon actually bashes into the barriers, and there's a bunch of debris that comes onto the track.
Oh my word! So in those first few laps, did Verstappen manage to get in front?
Nope, it was still Russell
still in
Hamilton.
third. Wow.
Yeah.
So actually, Mercedes is thinking, "Wow, we've got this tied up, haven't we?"
We might win our first race in a while.
Yeah, and lo and behold, there's another incident.
Yeah.
And I take it the safety car came out again.
Well, it did for the second time, and Russell and Sainz actually pitted for new tyres.
Okay.
And Hamilton was leading the race, so Verstappen is second at this point.
Right.
And Alonso's in third. Then comes the red flag because of the amount of gravel that comes onto the track.
Oh, right. So basically what happened was the safety car came out and Russell decided, and who was the other?
Sainz.
Sainz decided, right, okay, safety car's out, it's all okay, but we'll just change our tyres so we're ready to really go hell for leather. And then worst thing happens,
Red
and that
flag.
is it's red flag because it's too much debris. It requires a lot more time to clear the track, and that effectively means that all the cars come into the paddock and get a free stop.
Yeah, which could screw Russell and Sainz over.
Yeah, it's really bad because basically they've lost time, lost their place in the race, and everyone's going to change their tyres and do whatever they need to do to really make a race of it.
Yeah, so Russell was leading, and now he's in 7th place after the pit stop.
7th place. What a bad decision that was.
I know.
Are you sure? I'll tell you something. When I saw this happen, the first thing that came to my mind was, have Hamilton's people moved over to Russell's group? Because that was such a bad decision.
It was, and even Russell came, and I remember the time even Russell came onto the radio saying, "Oh, great." And I did feel so, and I can imagine why he said that because he's all of a sudden he's leading, and then they just got the strategy wrong.
Yeah. It's unfortunate, but that it happens. So again, second time. This is a full stop, isn't
Yes,
it? So it's a red flag.
Yeah.
So they have to stop for quite some time, clear all the debris off the track.
Yeah, and also Alex Albon's car as well because he actually lost his front wing and the back of the car as well.
Oh my word!
Yeah.
So Albon's out. So when they start behind the safety car?
Nope, they actually started from the grid.
Oh, right, so they got back onto the grid.
Yeah.
So they start in their positions as per the grid. And then what happens?
So the top 3 was still the same. Hamilton, Verstappen, Alonso.
Okay.
And then Gasly's in 4th because of the Sainz and Russell pit stop.
Yeah, right, okay. That's he must have been loving it.
Yeah. And also another thing to mention, Hulkenberg and Tsunoda were also behind Russell as well.
They were behind Russell or in front of Russell?
Behind Russell, so from the grid bot, from the restart, it was Hamilton in front, then Verstappen, then Alonso, then Gasly, And then Russell, Hulkenberg, Tsunoda.
Wow. Sonoda must have been thinking, this is going to be my race. I
Yeah.
can just imagine him sitting there going, the whole of Japan is going to be cheering me on because I'm going to get points. And so I can imagine.
And keep in mind, Tsunoda's not in a great car. He's of AlphaTauri.
Yeah. So they have a proper start, basically.
Yeah.
And then what happens?
And then on lap 12, Verstappen overtakes Hamilton for the
So
lead.
this time there are no crashes on the first corner.
No crashes at all.
They actually managed to do a lap without any incidents.
Yeah.
And then what happens?
So then...
The 12th, you said the 12th.
Yep. And then Russell actually gets past Gasly for the fourth place.
Oh right, okay. Wow, he's done well.
Yeah. And then he's obviously eyeing Alonso now because he wants to have for the final podium place. Little did he know, the bad luck could not get worse than what happened to him on lap 18.
What happened on 18?
His car gets caught on fire due to a power unit failure.
Oh my god. So this is a guy who managed to go from third to...
From first to...
He got to first.
Yes.
And then because of a bad call, basically lost places.
7th.
Made it all the way up to 4th.
Yep.
And then his power unit catches fire. Oh my god.
And the worst thing is, he actually stopped right outside the pit lane exit, so the pit lane was eventually closed because of that.
Oh, right. That's even worse.
Yeah.
That's even worse. So basically he's out of the race.
Yeah, which is unfortunate because I thought he had a real shot of a podium place.
Yeah, and it's actually out quite early in the race as well.
I know.
It's still a long way to go. So he's out of the race. And then what happened? What was the next incident?
They get racing again. And then Hamilton comes into the radio saying he's worried about his tyres lasting for the whole Grand Prix.
I think he's just saying that. Who knows? Who knows? Mm-hmm. And then what happens? So he's still in second. He's in first place, isn't he? Still.
No, he's actually second because Verstappen overtook him.
Oh, yeah. The one thing about the Red Bull car is, man, is it fast.
I know.
It's just incredibly fast, especially when DRS is on.
Yeah, the drag reduction system.
It just bombs it. So if there is a straight and you got DRS on, Red Bull are going to win that race. And it's just phenomenal. It's absolutely phenomenal. So then what happened?
So then there were a couple...
Actually, the first question is, how was Perez doing, having started in 20th? Was he now making his way up the order?
So when Russell actually retired, Perez was actually making his way into the top 10.
Wow. So he got... Obviously, some cars have dropped out, but still, he has to get into the top 10. That's good. He's got a long way to go yet still, so that's good.
So then on lap 30, Tsunoda and Piastri go head-to-head.
Okay. So they're really going for it.
Yeah, because obviously they both want to get their first points of the season.
Absolutely.
And with Piastri being his home Grand Prix, everybody's really cheering for him.
Yeah, and one of the things that was actually quite interesting about this race, being in Australia, obviously, Piastri is obviously he's a home favourite, but Ricciardo was being cheered just for turning up.
Yeah.
every time he stepped on the track or looked up, there was a massive cheer. So, and he must have been really feeling it. He must have been thinking, God, why can't I be in one of those cars? So obviously the crowd are very, very much hoping to see Piastri get some points.
Yes.
And then, go on.
Yeah. And then the 4 laps later, Hamilton's under pressure from Alonso because Alonso's literally breathing down his neck. Yeah,
I mean, Alonso is great in the sense that I think his tactics are good. I think one of the things about Alonso is he doesn't seem to be flustered, but his car, he just keeps it going, and I think he just knows how to make that car finish the race.
Oh, I agree.
And I think that's a really big thing, and it's
great the way he does it. With 2 podiums already in the first, and with 2 podiums already, you're thinking he's definitely gunning for a third one.
Yeah, absolutely. So the race is now hotting up.
Yep.
I take it Verstappen being so fast, he's probably quite far ahead. I remember seeing him about 4 or 5 seconds ahead, and he was getting the fastest lap time, one after the other. He's really going fast.
Yeah, I think at this point he was like 8 seconds ahead of Hamilton, which is
phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
So while Hamilton's under pressure from Alonso, Perez actually breezes past Norris and Nico Hulkenberg for 7th place.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, with ease, which
Yeah,
shows
he
the
left
pace
him
of the Red
behind.
Bull.
Yeah, he really left him behind. I remember that.
Yeah, and then lap 54, Magnussen clips the wall and his back tire falls off and almost hits Guan Yu Zhou.
That was terrible. That was absolutely terrible, wasn't it? When he touched the wall.
Yeah.
And you suddenly see this tire just. You think, where the hell did that come from? Because you expect it not to just fall off of a car.
Yeah.
And obviously the axle started to grind against the track, and you just said, right, okay, there's got to be another stop here. And sure enough, there was.
Yep. And so the safety car comes out again, and Hamilton and Alonso stay out while everyone decides to have a free pit stop. And then there's another red flag.
Oh, yeah, so they have to come in. And again,
and this is the 55th, and this happened on the 55th lap of the race.
Yeah, it's absolutely phenomenal. This is going on.
And then on lap 56 is when we hear the reactions from Verstappen and Alonso and Hamilton. So Verstappen's like, "What do you mean red flag?"
Yeah.
And then Alonso's like, "What?"
Yeah, there's only about 2 laps left of the race, and
Yeah.
to have a red flag so close to the end was absolutely awful. But I suppose the good thing was that in having a red flag, it meant that you would have 2 laps of excellent driving and excellent racing, isn't it?
You think that, but then on lap 57, they do the grid restart again, and this is when everything went to carnage.
Yeah, what happened?
So, Sainz hits Alonso,
Oh my God.
De Vries and Sargent are off the track, Ocon and Gasly collide, and Stroll goes off the track, which brings a third red flag of the race.
Yeah, this is in the first corner, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think. Absolutely, it was. I mean, you described it correctly in terms of carnage. It was ridiculous. And the crazy thing about it was, it looked great. I hate to say, I know you shouldn't say these things because somebody might get hurt, and obviously nobody wants to see anybody get hurt. But they were all really pushing to get points, and because cars had dropped out, you just knew everybody there had a chance of getting a point, and they really went for it because they knew there's only going to be two laps.
Yeah, and I actually felt sorry for Ocon and Gasly because Gasly was in 4th at this point and Ocon was in 10th. So you think, okay, they're gonna get a big haul of points.
Yeah, exactly.
But then they both collided and they now have to retire from the race.
Yeah, that was really, really bad. And then obviously you have this crazy situation.
Yeah, which was I think when I would talk about the restarting order.
Yeah, it's absolutely.
So after all this carnage happened, this was what the top 10 looked like. Verstappen was obviously in front. Verstappen's still in first. Then Hamilton. Then Sainz is in third. Hulkenberg's in 4th. Tsunoda, Norris, Piastri, Zhou, Bottas and Perez all in the top 10.
Yeah.
And you're thinking Hulkenberg and Tsunoda might get their first points of the season.
Yeah, and it basically when they did the red flag came out, everybody goes back in the pit stops, and then they have to go back onto the grid. And I must admit, when I was looking at it, I was thinking, you know what? Yes, there's only 1 lap left, but Tsunoda might actually get some points. And then they have this crazy news that they don't know the positions of the drivers at the time when the incident happened, or they can't evaluate it. And you're thinking, hold it, this is the most watched race in the world. They're watching every single thing. They can spot if a tyre is 0.5 centimetre outside of its grid. All right, that's how close it is. And then they have this incident, and at the time of the incident, they cannot work out who's first, second, third, fourth, fifth, down to 10th. It's absolute nuts. And so what happens is they end up going to the order prior to the actual incident happening, isn't it?
Yeah, because what happened was the cars didn't make it through the first sector, and because they didn't make it through the first sector, it means that the order for lap 56 is the order they use for the restart.
Yeah, I think
which means Tsunoda and Hulkenberg get pushed out of the top 10.
Yeah, I think it's totally wrong. I really thought that was wrong. Because I can understand it if it's a rule of maybe 50 years ago when they weren't able to determine these things. But now, given where technology is, given where we can all see, I mean, everybody who saw that incident knows exactly who was first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and so on. How can they not just accept reality and just say, right, okay, this is where you were at the time of the incident, and use that as the placements for the grid.
And then the worst thing happens for Sainz. He gets a 5-second penalty with the collision from Alonso.
Yeah, because he actually caused a collision, didn't he?
Yeah, and I actually remember watching this, and he was literally
furious, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And the reason he was furious, and this is why this race, having started out as being really exciting, having lots of incidents, became the most boring race in the world at the end, because the last lap they decided to do under a safety car. And as a result, nobody was able to overtake. So that meant that the position you started in, you basically finished in. And it's like, what is the point of that? You know, we might all be upset with the way Verstappen won his first championship. But at least that last lap was a proper race.
Whereas this one is just behind the safety car.
Yeah, it's just rubbish. I thought it was rubbish. And
I'm not gonna lie, I thought at least we get like a 1-lap shootout for the places.
Yeah, they should have been. I don't understand how racing...
FIA, you mean?
Yeah, the FIA. I just don't understand how they can even think this is a sensible way of finishing a race.
I mean, even Verstappen was thinking that as well. Like, why does a safety car there when we can just have a 1-lap shootout?
Yeah, and I think this is one of those things that's going to be remembered about this race. Unfortunately, there was some great racing in this race. I mean, the drivers were really going for it, and there was some fantastic overtaking, and the incidents were there because they were trying so hard. I think it's easy to forget that. But for it to finish in the way it did, everyone's going to call it a damp squib of a blooming GP. And I think it's going to end up being... Hopefully this is not going to be a sign of the times where the rules stop competition. I
think that's what several drivers thought after the race as well.
Yeah, and everybody was thinking this. And it is really unfortunate. So who finished the top three? So
the top three just stayed the same because of the safety car.
Yeah, and
so it was Verstappen, Hamilton, Alonso.
See, Alonso, another third place podium, and another podium. That is brilliant.
Yeah.
I think if somebody had said that, will Alonso be getting any points, any significant points, certainly getting a podium finish this year, I think most people would have said
impossible.
Yeah, they would have said no way. But the Aston Martin is a good car. It seems to be really... He seems to really understand it.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing. And
he was loving it the whole race. Totally in control, not even worried about anything.
Yeah, he's really, really good. So Hamilton is happy, obviously, now got on the podium for the first time this season.
Yes.
So now you got to wonder, was he playing mind games when he said, we've got a year to catch up to Red Bull? I think it was all mind games, personally. But hey-ho, that's just the way... But other than the way it finished, and with the way it finished, left a very sour taste in the mouth. I mean, really, this is unfortunate. I think the racing authorities need to understand that it's meant to be a race. And people who watch these things, you're going to turn the audience, the world audience off. Obviously, the people who are at the track, they're going to have to accept whatever it is, and they'll enjoy the whole day. But when you're having to get up early in the morning,
yeah,
and you're then having to sort of sit through incident after incident, and you're getting excited about, wow, this is really going somewhere, and then you have a damp squib of an end. That it's just like, blimey hell.
Why did I stay up for this?
Yeah. You end up thinking that. It's quite right. You end up sort of thinking, well, what's the point? I might just watch the highlights. And I think that's really, really unfortunate. But that's the Australian Grand Prix. Anything else to add?
Well, yeah, Tsunoda got his first point of the season.
That was one great thing. Tsunoda finally got a point. I think it's the first point he's ever got, isn't it?
Well, for this season.
For this season.
Yeah.
Well, this is a guy who, if anybody's watched the Netflix show...
Drive to Survive.
Yeah, Drive to Survive, will know of how unhappy he was being served mushy peas at Milton Keynes. It's one of the funniest moments. If ever you get to see Drive to Survive, see the episode and just look at his face when he's given the local dish, and he doesn't like it.
And the thing is, you'd think these F1 drivers live in great places, But to be caught in Milton Keynes, he literally hated it, I reckon.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, again, you need to be close to where the team is based. And I think he's just struggled with the whole of that, which is why they sent him back to Tokyo, didn't they?
No, they actually moved him to Italy.
Italy, that's right.
Because when he was in Milton Keynes, he didn't really have a structure in place.
Yeah. So they tried to, well, I think he did that on purpose, actually, to make sure there's no structure in place. But anyway, who knows? Who knows? The reality is we just love the guy for trying. Yeah. And I'm glad to see that he got a point. I really wish him all the best.
Yeah, and also McLaren finally got their first points of the season. Yeah,
that was fantastic as well. So we just want to see Williams do well.
Yes.
That's what we want to do now. Okay, so when is the next Grand Prix?
3 weeks' time in Azerbaijan.
Has that got a sprint
Nope.
qualifying? Or what's the qualifying in that like?
Well, it's actually a street circuit.
Oh, it's a street circuit. Oh my God. It's going to be a street circuit. Let's see how many incidents there are. It will be fast as well. There are going to be some parts of that race that are going to be really fast and really hard. So it's going to be really worth looking at. So join us then. So it's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from Stats.
Bye.
Bye.